I can't believe I can actually say this now and not have it be an out-of-season April Fool's joke, but ladies and gentlemen, we are officially a week away from the launch of Cyberpunk 2077, and obviously we're all very excited for this game to finally launch, but because it's so close to the official launch now, that means that lots of spoilers and lots of leaks are currently being put onto the internet. And CD Projekt Red's done a pretty good job when it comes to protecting their gameplay and striking down anyone who's re-uploading all of these leaks, but I'll be honest, with some of the new gameplay that's been leaked onto the internet, I'm a little bit worried when it comes to the current state of the game. Now, out of respect for CD Projekt Red, I'm not going to be showing any of the gameplay here, and I'm not going to go into extreme detail about what I saw either. It's pretty easy to find the 40 minutes worth of gameplay plus the 30 other minutes that were leaked about a week and a half ago on the internet. The wonderful place that it is, so if you really want to see it, you can go and find it, but I wanted to tell you all my current thoughts on the gameplay, and also talk about some of the other information pertaining to the game that we've gotten, like how CD Projekt Red is saying the multiplayer aspect that we've been waiting to hear about won't even be coming out for at least another 2 years, and we're also going to be talking about some of the 2077 DLC. So the first article that I'm going to be referencing is from PCGamer.com. Cyberpunk 2077's DLC will remain secret until after the game's launch. So it's entirely unsurprising that Cyberpunk 2077 will be getting some post-launch DLC, but it'll be a while yet before we hear from any future adventurers in Night City, with CD Projekt Red keeping their plans under wraps until after the game's proper release. Speaking in an earnings call handily transcribed by Seeking Alpha, CDPR joint CEO responded to questions regarding the game's inevitable season pass and when we could expect to hear about the post-launch plans. The initial plan was to do before release, but after the recent delay, we decided to wait for the release to provide gamers with the game and then start talking about future projects, he said. So, after release. We already know that Cyberpunk will have Witcher 3 levels of post-launch support, with larger story expansions complemented by smaller cosmetics and quest drops, but it's also getting some sort of multiplayer content later down the road, though from the sound of things, it won't simply arrive as an update to 2077. Now, we are going to talk about the multiplayer in just a second, but when it comes to the DLC itself, obviously Cyberpunk 2077, the base game has hundreds of hours worth of content. I don't think that anyone's really worried about the DLC. I'm sure that we are going to get some. They've already confirmed that we are going to get some, but I don't think that anyone's just going to be kind of Leroying through the base game. So I think what the base game has is going to be plenty of gameplay for all of us for a while, just because of how hyped up this game is, especially with how many different paths you can choose. You have all of these detailed systems in the game, so it's not like you're just going to do one playthrough of the game and it's done. It's a linear path. No. This game is one that you're probably going to want to replay on several different types of characters. So for me personally, I am really excited to see what the DLC will contain in the future, but are we really that worried about it? No, but it is nice for them to kind of address it a little bit, because it's just nice to have some sort of information. I don't really like when they say, yeah, you'll get information on something, and then 3 years down the line, we still don't have much information on it, but I don't think they're going to wait, a year before they start launching DLC for Cyberpunk, just because if they want to keep the hype and excitement alive for it, they're going to have to launch DLC a couple of months after the release, once people, or a lot of people at least, have kind of gotten through their initial playthrough. But this game definitely seems like it's going to have a lot of replayability, so I'm sure that everyone will have plenty of content to keep them busy. Now, the next article that I wanted to reference was Cyberpunk 2077 multiplayer isn't just a mode. Now, this is something we really have no solid information about. We've heard a couple of rumors, we've heard, slight pieces of information, like I referenced in the last article, where it says, after release, we'll start talking about some of the other plans that we have for the Cyberpunk universe. But Cyberpunk 2077 multiplayer isn't just a mode. According to CD Projekt Red, the multiplayer is a separate, dedicated, and big production that will more or less be a standalone project. If this sounds familiar, it's because it's how GTA Online functions with GTA 5, and it's safe to assume whenever multiplayer for the game does release, it will draw many comparisons to GTA Online. So first, we don't call it a mode, CD Projekt Red's Adam Kowinski said while talking about the game's multiplayer. It's a separate, dedicated production, a big production, and we think about it as just a standalone project. While CD Projekt Red is billing the game's multiplayer as its own thing, it has confirmed it won't be completely divorced from the game's campaign, which is being made by an entirely different team. Now, I am someone who was a little bit disappointed to hear that Cyberpunk 2077's base game wouldn't have multiplayer with it, just because I like to see when a game launches it to have multiplayer, but Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be a super long game with tons of content, so as someone who is excited for Cyberpunk, and I will be excited for the multiplayer when we hear more about it, I think that it's okay. I think that they've given us plenty of content. It's not like it's a AAA game that's like a 10 to 15 hour experience. I do think that there's plenty of content here to play, but it says unfortunately this is all CD Projekt Red is saying about the mode right now, which remains not only unrevealed but a complete enigma for those looking forward to it. That said, CD Projekt Red has reaffirmed that this will change in the first quarter of 2021, which is to say sometime between 2021 and April 2021. Multiplayer is a new territory for CD Projekt Red, which is both promising and worrying. For me, yeah, it is promising and worrying because they haven't really dabbled in it, so it could go terribly wrong, but I do have a lot of confidence in CD Projekt Red and the teams who have worked on 2077 and the teams that will also be working on the multiplayer. So I think that they're going to do a good job, but I would rather them take that time that they need instead of rushing out the multiplayer and then have it be a terrible experience and no one plays it. Just take your time, create the best damn game that you can, just like they did with Cyberpunk itself. But now we are going to move on to one of the last topics that I wanted to discuss in this video. Cyberpunk 2077 gameplay on PS4 has leaked again, showing more stuff in-game, inventory, and apartment storage with guns is being shown, some dialogue between V and Jackie, what a voice crack, geez, V's apartment is shown, and the settings are shown. Now, when it comes to the gameplay that leaked, it did leak onto 4chan, and it was roughly 40 minutes worth of gameplay, so obviously the game graphically that people are playing right now is without the day one patches, so we've got to kind of take that into consideration when we're seeing graphical bugs and glitches, but Night City just looked really, I don't know, empty. In one scene, Jackie and V are having a dialogue and they end up getting into a really cool looking fight, but Night City, when they're driving through it, just looked so empty and lackluster in a way. I am trying to keep in mind that this was the PlayStation 4 version of the game. It's not on the next generation console, so because the PlayStation 4 can't render as much as the PlayStation 5 can, obviously, there is going to be a graphical difference, but because this is a current gen title, this is probably going to be what the game is. Now, with staying pretty vague, but also telling you some of my genuine thoughts, we also saw some inventory management, like icons for guns and grenades, which looked good. The way that stats are laid out on items looked really clean and easy to understand, and the menu options for the game looked fine, but judging menu options from someone else's gameplay, for me at least, is kind of difficult to do. I don't like to really judge menu options and kind of UIs until I've gotten to see it for myself and play it for myself. myself. But yeah, again, when the game launches, I will be here day one playing it. I'm still extremely excited to give it a chance, even though I am a little bit concerned that Night City looked pretty empty in the leaked gameplay that we saw, but I'm still really looking forward to it. I'm definitely not refunding my pre-orders or anything. I'm going to be live streaming it here day one, so make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to stop by for that. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like and share it, and of course if you did not, you can give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.